The wind cut through the broken city like knives of ice. Snowflakes swirled in the air, mixing with dust from the crumbling towers. Aaron's hands moved quickly over the metal panel of his transport. His ship was old, scratched from years of service, but right now it was the only thing keeping him alive. Sparks jumped as he tightened the last cable. He could hear the distant hum of scanning drones moving closer through the ruined streets. He worked with focus. The scanner on his wrist blinked red, warning that the drones were less than 200 meters away. If they found him, they would call in the hunter ships, and that would be the end. Aaron had been in bad situations before, but never on a frozen world so far from human-controlled space. He had landed here for supplies, but a sudden drone sweep had trapped him in this dead city. A sound made him freeze. It was not the harsh wind or the whine of machinery. It was a voice. "Hurry up!" Aaron turned sharply. Standing behind him was a tall figure, her skin smooth and silver under the pale light. Her hair was like strands of black glass, moving slightly in the breeze. She wore a torn suit that looked built for protection, but was now damaged in several places. A faint glow shone from her eyes, cold but alive. Aaron's first instinct was to reach for the pistol at his hip, but she raised one hand slowly. "I am not your enemy," she said. Her voice was calm, but there was strain in it. She glanced over her shoulder, then back at him. "If you do not leave now, they will find us both." Aaron studied her. She was not from any allied species he knew. Her presence here made no sense. The drones might be after her, not him. That thought alone made him want to keep his distance. "You should go your own way," Aaron said. "My ship will not carry strangers." "You will change your mind when they come," she replied. She stepped closer and he noticed she was limping. A long cut ran down her left leg. She tried to hide the pain but could not. Aaron hesitated. Helping her could slow him down, but leaving her meant watching someone die in the snow. That was something he could not do. "Fine," he said. "Get inside." She gave a single nod. He helped her climb up the short ramp into the ship. The interior was small, only 2 seats in the cockpit and a narrow corridor to the cargo bay. The walls were patched with different metals from different worlds, proof of a life spent repairing more than replacing. Aaron moved quickly to the pilot seat and powered up the engines. The hum grew louder, a deep vibration through the floor. He checked the scanners again. The red dots were closing fast. "They will fire the moment they see us," the alien woman said, settling into the co-pilot seat. "Then I will make sure." "They cannot see us for long," Aaron replied. The thrusters roared, and the ship lifted from the cracked street. Snow spun wildly around them. A beam of blue light flashed past the cockpit as a drone spotted them. More beams followed, striking the ground near the landing site. Aaron pushed the controls forward, sending the transport into a sharp climb. The city fell away beneath them. Broken towers jutted from the ice like black teeth. The drones gave chase, their small engines burning white in the distance. Aaron shifted power to the rear shields. A blast hit them, shaking the hull, but the ship held. The woman watched him closely. Her hands gripped the armrests, yet her eyes stayed steady. "You fly well for a human," she said. "Better than dying on the ground," Aaron replied without looking at her. He dove the ship into a narrow canyon of ice that cut through the frozen plains. The drones followed, weaving between the walls. Aaron's hands moved over the controls, every turn sharper than the last. The ship's old frame groaned, but it kept moving. One drone clipped the canyon wall and exploded in a burst of white sparks. The others pulled back slightly, giving Aaron just enough time to break into open air. He shot upward, breaking through a layer of thin clouds, and the sensors showed no pursuit. Only then did he slow the ship. His breath came heavy, and his hands stayed on the controls for a moment longer. Finally, he glanced at his passenger. She was watching him again, her expression unreadable. "You did not have to help me," she said. "Maybe not," Aaron replied. "But you would have died back there." For the first time, her gaze softened slightly. She looked away toward the endless white landscape beyond the glass. Aaron wondered who she was and why she was here. The question stayed in his mind as the ship moved toward the dark line of mountains ahead. He knew that whatever her story was, it had just become his problem too. The ship cut through the thin clouds, moving fast toward the jagged mountains. Aaron kept one hand on the controls and the other near the engine power switch. He did not trust that the drones were truly gone. His scanners showed no red dots, but, in his experience, enemies often returned when least expected. The silver-skinned woman sat silently in the co-pilot seat. Her eyes moved between the controls and the view outside. She did not ask where they were going. She did not thank him for saving her. She simply watched. Finally, Aaron spoke. "What do I call you?" She turned her head slightly. "Nira." "All right, Nira," Aaron said. "What were you doing in that city?" She was quiet for a moment, then answered. "Trying to live." Aaron frowned. It was not much of an answer, but he let it pass. He could tell she was not ready to share more. He adjusted. The ship's course toward a cluster of deep valleys he remembered seeing on the planetary charts. If they could hide there for a few hours, maybe the scanners would lose them. The silence between them was broken by the steady hum of the engines. Aaron's mind kept replaying the moment she appeared. She had been calm even with death closing, and most people would panic. She had not. That made her dangerous or very well trained. The ship crossed into the mountains. Shadows from the peaks covered them like a cloak. Aaron found a narrow pass and guided the ship between two tall ridges. Here, the air was thick with snow dust, making it hard for any aerial sensors to get a clear reading. He landed in a small clearing surrounded by rocks. The landing gear sank slightly into the powdery snow. Aaron powered down most systems, leaving only minimal heat and life support. The engines cooled with a low hiss. Nira unbuckled her harness but made no move to leave. Instead, she studied him. "You are not part of the local patrols," she said. "No," Aaron replied. "I am a trader. I landed for supplies. Wrong place, wrong time." "Yet you stayed to help me." Aaron looked at her directly. "You were hurt." "I don't leave people to die." Her gaze did not break. "You risked your life. For me," he gave a small shrug. "For anyone." For a moment she seemed to weigh his words. Then she leaned back in her seat and closed her eyes. Aaron stood and walked to the small storage compartment. He pulled out a metal case and opened it. Inside were basics, medical supplies. He took a spray sealant and a roll of bandage cloth, then returned to her. "Your leg needs fixing," he said. "I can manage," she replied without opening her eyes. "Not on my ship," he said firmly. "Infection will slow you down, and I need you to be able to move if we get attacked again." She opened her eyes slowly and gave him a long look. Then she shifted in her seat, allowing him to see the injury more clearly. The cut was deep but clean, likely from sharp debris. Aaron cleaned it with a sterile pad, then used the spray sealant to close the skin. The sealant hardened into a thin protective layer. He wrapped it with the bandage cloth for extra support. Nira did not flinch once during the process. When he finished, Aaron sat back. "That will hold, but you should rest." "I will rest when we are safe," she said. Aaron almost smiled. "That might take a while." Before he could say more, the ship's warning light blinked once. Aaron moved quickly to the console. The scanners had picked up faint movement near the edge of the mountain pass. It was not close enough to be a drone, but it was moving steadily toward them. Nira rose from her seat. "They found us." "Not yet," Aaron said. "Could be an animal. Could be a scout." Nira's voice was calm but certain. It is a scout. They will send more when he reports. Aaron powered up the engines again. Then we move before that. Happens. The ship lifted off, snow blasting away from the landing gear. Aaron steered them through the narrow pass and into a wider valley. The scanner showed the moving signal still at the pass, but no others. For now. Nira spoke without looking. At him. If you take me to the northern plateau, I can lose them. You seem sure about that, Aaron said. I know the land, she replied. Aaron considered it. He did not like following someone else's plan, but she seemed confident. Fine. Point the way. She leaned forward and tapped a point on the navigation screen. The route would take them through more valleys and then across a long stretch of open ice before reaching the plateau. Open ice meant no cover, but if she was right about losing them there, it might be worth the risk. They flew low over the mountains, skimming just above the ridges. The sunlight broke through the clouds in thin beams, making the ice shine like silver. Aaron kept one eye on the scanner and one on the terrain ahead. As they neared the edge of the mountains, Nira finally spoke again. Why do you trust me? I don't, Aaron said plainly. But right now I don't have a better option. She gave a small nod. That is wise. When they reached the open ice, Aaron felt exposed. The scanner was clear, but he knew that could change in seconds. He pushed the engines harder. The ship skimmed the surface, leaving a faint trail of disturbed snow. Halfway. Across, the scanner beeped sharply. Multiple signals had appeared behind them. Drones. Fast ones. Nira's voice was steady. Do not slow down. They will try to push us toward the south where the patrol ships wait. The wind roared across the open ice, and the ship's hull shook under the force. Aaron kept the transport low, close enough to see the surface rushing by beneath them. The white glare of the frozen plain stretched endlessly in every direction. Behind them, the red blips of the drones on the scanner were closing fast. Nira sat steady in the co-pilot seat. Her gaze was fixed on the horizon, but she seemed aware of every sound the ship made. She spoke over the hum of the engines. They will not give up easily. You must be ready to push your ship harder than before. Aaron adjusted the throttle. She can handle it. I just hope the same can be said for us. The ship surged forward, engines straining. The drones responded, fanning out in a wide arc. Aaron saw their white trails in the distance as they tried to encircle him. He tilted the ship slightly, keeping their path straight toward the plateau Nira had marked. Why there? Aaron asked, eyes never leaving the controls. Nira answered without hesitation. A storm forms at the edge of the plateau every cycle. The winds can tear apart small craft. If we reach it before they do, the storm will cover our trail. Aaron gave a short nod. Good. Let's make sure they are the ones getting torn apart. A sharp beeping from the scanner drew his attention. One of the drones had moved closer than the others. Aaron swerved hard to the left, just as a burst of energy fire streaked past their hull. The blast left a scorch mark on the side, but no real damage. That was a warning shot, Nira said. Then, here's my warning, Aaron replied. He pulled a lever above his head. A small hatch on the back of the ship opened, releasing a pair of compact mines. The mines floated for a moment before activating and spinning toward the incoming drone. Seconds. Later, a bright flash lit up the ice. The drone vanished from the scanner. The others slowed slightly, adjusting their approach. Aaron used the moment to increase speed again. The engines howled, and the transport skimmed the surface like a shadow. Minutes passed in tense silence. The plateau began to rise ahead of them, dark and jagged against the pale sky. Above it, thick clouds churned, their edges glowing faintly from lightning deep inside. Aaron could already feel the turbulence pushing against the ship. That is the storm? He asked. Yes, Nira said. It will break their pursuit. The scanner beeped again. The drones were closer now, clearly willing to risk the storm. Aaron gritted his teeth and kept going. The first gusts of the storm hit, shoving the ship sideways. He corrected quickly, eyes locked on the gap between two rocky cliffs that marked the entry to the plateau. They passed into the storm's edge, and the world became a blur of snow and wind. Lightning flashed overhead, followed by deep rumbles that shook the air. Aaron fought the controls, every muscle tense. The turbulence was so strong that the ship's frame groaned under the pressure. The drones entered the storm behind them. Almost immediately, one was slammed into the ice by a sudden gust, exploding in a spray of metal and fire. The others tried to keep formation, but the wind tore at them. Aaron used the chaos to change direction sharply, weaving between rocky outcrops. By the time they cleared the cliffs, only 2 drones remained on the scanner. A moment later, one vanished, destroyed by the storm's fury. The last one held its position for several seconds before turning back toward calmer skies. Aaron eased the ship lower, finding a patch of flat ice behind a ridge where the wind was weaker. He landed gently, shutting down the engines but keeping the heat running. The storm outside roared on, but in the cockpit there was a strange stillness. Nira was the first to speak. "You fly with skill." Aaron looked at her, a small smile on his face. "You give good directions. For the first time." Her lips curved into a faint smile. It was brief, but it softened her expression. They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the muffled roar of the storm. Then Aaron stood and reached for the storage compartment again. He pulled out 2 metal flasks and handed one to her. "It's just heat water. Keeps the body warm." She took it, studying the simple metal container before taking a sip. "It is strange, but good." Aaron leaned back in his seat. "You should rest now. We're safe here until the storm passes." Nira tilted her head. "Safe is never certain." "Maybe not," Aaron admitted. "But for now, it's the closest we can get." She looked at him for a long moment as if weighing his words. Finally, she spoke quietly. "Where I come from, kindness is rare. It is often a trick to gain advantage." "And you think that's what I'm doing?" Aaron asked. "I think you are different," she said simply. Aaron met her gaze. "Maybe I am. Or maybe I just don't like seeing people get left behind." She did not answer right away, but there was no distrust in her eyes now. She took another sip from the flask and leaned back. Outside, the storm howled, but inside, there was a growing sense that they were no longer just strangers caught in the same fight. Aaron knew the quiet would not last. The drones would report back, and whoever sent them would not stop. But for this moment, he let himself relax. They had survived the chase, crossed the storm, and reached the plateau. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The storm outside raged for hours. The sound of the wind was like a constant roar, shaking the thin walls of the transport. Snow piled high against the ridge that sheltered them, making the world outside look like nothing more than white shadows, moving in endless circles. Inside, the air was warm from the heater. Aaron sat in the pilot seat, his boots resting on the metal floor, eyes scanning the ship's systems. Everything seemed in order, though the engines had taken strain from the chase. He made a note to check the thrusters once they found calmer ground. Nira sat across from him in the co-pilot seat. She was quiet, her hands resting in her lap, eyes half closed as if listening to something far away. After a while, Aaron spoke. "We can wait here until the storm breaks. Then we move." She nodded slightly. "Yes, but once we move, they will find us again." "You're certain about that?" "They have my trail," she said. "They will follow until I am gone." Aaron leaned back, studying her. "Why? You said before you were just trying to live. That doesn't make people hunt you across a planet." Nira's eyes opened fully, and for the first time Aaron saw hesitation in them. She seemed to weigh whether to speak. Finally, she turned to face him. "My people are called Vera," she said. We come from a system far beyond human maps. We have lived in shadow for many generations, but the ones who rule my world are not like me." Aaron stayed silent, letting her continue. "They are warlords. They rule through fear, through control. They take from others to make themselves strong. When they began taking from their own, I could not remain silent," Aaron frowned. "Taking from their own? What do you mean?" Nira's voice was calm, but there was steel under it. "Prisoners, experiments. They captured those who questioned them and used them as tools for weapons research. I was part of their guard force once. I saw what they did. I tried to free some of the prisoners. I failed. They escaped for a short time, but the warlords caught them again. The only one who escaped that night was me." Aaron understood now why the drones had come for her. "So you ran?" "Yes," she said. "I have been running for a long time, but they always send hunters. And now they send machines. Machines do not stop." Aaron crossed his arms. "And what happens if they catch you?" "They will end me," Nira said without emotion. "And anyone who stood beside me?" The words hung heavy in the warm air of the cockpit. Aaron could feel the weight of them, not just in their meaning, but in the way she spoke, without fear, only certainty. He leaned forward slightly. "Then maybe the answer is to stop running." Her eyes narrowed. "You wish to fight them? You cannot win against the warlords." "I don't have to win against all of them," Aaron said. "Only the ones who come after us. Long enough for you to disappear for good." She studied him for a long moment. "You are strange, human. You are not afraid of dying for someone you have known only a day." Aaron's mouth pulled into a half-smile. "Fear's not the same as giving up." Nira looked away, as if the conversation was over, but Aaron could see something shift in her expression. It was not trust yet, but it was a step toward it. Hours later, the storm began to weaken. The roar outside faded to a deep hum, and light filtered through the thick clouds above. Aaron stood and moved to the rear of the ship to check their supplies. There was enough fuel for several more jumps across the surface, but not enough for a long flight without finding a station. Nira joined him. "When we leave here, they will expect us to head toward the nearest settlement," Aaron nodded. "Then we go the other way." She tilted her head slightly. "The other way is toward the debris fields. The ground there is dangerous, which is exactly why they won't expect us to try it," Aaron replied. They strapped in and powered up the ship. The engines rumbled back to life, and the transport lifted from the ice. The storm clouds still swirled, but the winds were weaker now. Aaron steered them north, toward a line of dark shapes breaking the horizon. The debris fields came into view an hour later. They stretched for miles, made of shattered metal, old wrecks, and jagged ice ridges. Ships from battles long past lay, broken in the snow, their rusted frames jutting upward like frozen bones. Nira's voice was quiet. "This place holds the dead of many wars." Aaron kept his eyes forward. "Let's make sure we're not added to that list." They weaved through the wreckage, careful not to clip the wings on sharp metal. The scanner stayed clear at first, but as they reached the far side of the field, a faint blip appeared. Then another. "They followed," Nira said. Aaron tightened his grip on the controls. "Then we make it harder for them." He dipped the ship between two massive wrecks, skimming the surface to throw off their lock. The blips on the scanner shifted, closing in. "They are faster than before," Nira warned. Aaron's eyes narrowed. "Then so are we." He pushed the throttle to full. The transport roared through the wrecks, twisting and dodging. Behind them, the hunters came closer, their signals now bright on the scanner. Nira's hand rested on the side panel, steadying herself as the ship shook. She glanced at Aaron. "If we reach the far ridge, there is a mining station buried under the ice. It has power. We could hide there." Aaron gave a sharp nod. Mark it. She reached forward, tapped the location into the navigation system, and the ship adjusted course. The hunters followed, but now Aaron had a destination and a plan. As they sped toward the ridge, Aaron realized something. He was no longer just helping her survive. He was starting to believe in her cause. The mining station appeared like a shadow in the distance, half buried in ice and snow. Its metallic surface was scratched and rusted, but its structure was still intact. Aaron's eyes narrowed as he guided the transport closer. Every movement had to be precise. One wrong turn could smash the ship into the jagged ice or alert the hunters behind them. They are gaining on us faster than before, Nira said calmly. Her hand hovered over the navigation panel, ready to assist. I know, Aaron replied. We need to reach that station before they catch up. Once we are inside, we have cover. He pushed the throttle forward, skimming the ice at high speed. The transport's engines howled under the strain, and snow sprayed around them like white fire. Behind, the red blips of the hunters on the scanner grew larger, moving in formation as if anticipating every twist of the ship. Hold tight, Aaron warned. Nira braced herself, gripping the seat straps. She watched the ice and wreckage whip past, yet her expression remained calm. She had survived worse than this, Aaron realized, but he could not afford overconfidence. The hunters had machines designed to track and kill, and even one mistake could cost them their lives. The station grew closer. Its entrance was partially blocked by a collapsed ice ridge, forcing Aaron to maneuver carefully. He angled the transport diagonally, sliding the ship through the narrow gap. Metal scraped against ice, sending a shower of sparks outside. The hunters followed, but one collided with a jagged metal wreck, exploding in a bright flash that lit. Up the snow! That takes care of one, Nira said. Good, Aaron replied. But there are more. Stay ready. The remaining 2 drones continued their pursuit. Aaron dipped the transport low, skimming the frozen surface to make targeting harder. The sensors beeped rapidly as the drones adjusted. One fired a plasma beam, and the hull of the ship rattled under the impact. Aaron twisted the controls, narrowly avoiding a second shot. We need to enter the station, he shouted over the engines. Nira pointed toward a side entrance partially covered in ice. There. The emergency hatch is buried, but it can support a landing. Hurry. Aaron tilted the ship downward, skimming toward the hatch. Ice cracked under the landing gear as they touched the surface, and the engines howled as he tried to brake. Sparks flew from the bottom of the transport as it skidded across the ice. Finally, the ship came to a halt. The scanners outside still showed movement. The drones had not stopped. Aaron powered down the engines, but kept life support and shields active. He and Nira unbuckled and prepared to leave the ship. You lead, Aaron said. I will cover you. Nira nodded. Her steps were light but confident as she moved toward the hatch. Aaron followed, ready for anything. Inside, the station was dark, the lights flickering from years of disuse. Broken consoles lined the walls, and ice had seeped in through small cracks. The temperature was cold, but the shelter was better than the storm outside. Aaron checked the scanners. The drones had followed but could not enter the station fully. Their sensors only picked up faint signs of movement outside. We have a chance to set traps, Nira said, her voice calm and measured. If they enter, we can slow them. Aaron nodded, moving toward the old control room. Panels of equipment still hummed faintly, powered by a backup generator. He began setting rudimentary alarms and pressure triggers using old cables and sensors. Nira moved through the station, examining old energy emitters and conduits. They are coming in, she said after a few minutes. I can feel their sensors outside. Aaron adjusted the last trap, connecting it to a small battery that would send a burst of energy to disable any drone entering the main corridor. He looked at Nira. Ready? She nodded. They will not expect this. The old station works in our favor. A sudden alarm from the main door sensors signaled the arrival of the first drone. Aaron and Nira took cover behind a large console. The drone entered, scanning the area with its bright beam. It did not see the traps until it was too late. A burst of electricity shot out from the floor panels, disabling its systems instantly. Sparks flew, and the drone crashed to the ground, twitching before going silent. "Good work," Aaron said. Nira only glanced at him briefly. "There are more. They will come in pairs." As predicted, 2 more drones approached the station. Aaron and Nira worked together, moving through the corridors and setting traps. One drone fell into a makeshift net, its propulsion disabled. The other was forced to retreat temporarily after a burst of redirected energy from an old emitter. The chase was not over, but the advantage had shifted. They had turned the abandoned mining station into a defensive stronghold. Aaron looked at Nira. "You were right about this place. It has cover and tools we can use." She nodded. "It is not just cover. It is a reminder. Every place has something useful if you know how to see it." The two worked quickly, reinforcing doors, rerouting, power, and checking the traps. Time was short, but the station had become their shield against the hunters. Outside, the wind continued to howl, carrying snow and ice over the frozen plains. But inside there was order, preparation, and the growing bond between 2 unlikely allies. Aaron realized that they relied on each other not only for survival but also for hope. "This will buy us time," Aaron said. "For what?" Nira asked quietly. "For what comes next," he said, looking at the dark entrance. "We will need a plan to finish this, to make sure they do not follow us again." Nira's eyes reflected determination. "Then we will be ready." The storm outside and the hunters' pursuit were not over. But inside the old station, Aran and Nira found a moment of control. They had survived the chase, built defenses, and learned to trust one another. And as the night fell outside, they prepared for the inevitable clash that would decide who would live and who would be hunted. The wind outside the mining station had slowed, leaving only faint gusts that rattled the metal walls. Aaron and Nira crouched behind a thick support beam in the main hall, listening. The hum of the station's old power system was steady, but beyond the reinforced doors, the hunters were coming. The faint red glow of their sensors pulsed through the cracks. "They are here," Nira whispered. Her silver eyes glimmered in the dim light. "They will not stop until they find me." Aaron nodded. "Then we make sure they cannot get in easily." He checked the last of the traps he had rigged. Broken consoles and exposed wiring would channel bursts of energy to disable anyone who tried to force their way through the main corridor. Nira moved silently, placing energy emitters along the walls to act as shields. Their plan was simple: slow the hunters, block their paths, and use the station itself as a weapon. The first drone hit the reinforced door and slammed into it with brute force. Sparks flew as metal scraped metal. Aaron and Nira pressed against the wall, holding their positions. The door shuddered, but the trap they had set sent a pulse of energy through the floor. The drone system sparked violently, then it fell silent. "They will not stop at one," Nira said. Aaron adjusted his stance and grabbed a handheld energy launcher. The door shook again as a second drone approached. This one moved with calculated speed, trying to bypass the floor trap. Aaron aimed carefully, waiting for the right moment. When it stepped onto a thin metal plate, he fired. The shot hit perfectly, knocking it sideways into a pile of old machinery. Sparks flew and the drone lay disabled. Outside, the remaining drones paused, assessing the station. Nira stepped forward, activating the energy emitters along the walls. A low hum filled the room, and a faint glow appeared. "If they try to enter through any side corridors, they will feel the energy," she said. The red blips on the scanner moved again. One drone tried a side entrance, but it was caught in the energy field and thrown back. Another approached the main door, but Aaron and Nira were ready. Working in unison, they lured the drone into the corridor lined with traps. The machine collided with exposed wiring, sparks showering the room, and then it fell still. Aaron exhaled, but there was no time to relax. "There may be more," he said. "They are just scouts," Nira replied. "The real hunters will come soon. They use machines to track, but they will send people next. And they will be dangerous." Aaron nodded. He knew she was right. Human reflexes alone might not stop trained warriors. They needed to be clever, use the environment, and trust each other completely. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then a soft vibration ran through the floor. Something large was moving outside, heavier than the drones. Nira's eyes narrowed. "The first team has arrived." Aaron checked the scanner. Several red blips appeared, moving fast. He could see them approaching the main door. He and Nira exchanged a glance. This would not be easy. As the door shuddered, under repeated strikes, Aaron aimed his launcher and fired through a small opening in the wall. One of the hunters froze in mid-step, the energy blast knocking him backward. Sparks flew as the hunter's armor sparked, and he crashed into the floor. Nira activated the emitters in a narrow hallway nearby. When another hunter tried to bypass the main entrance, a wave of energy surged from the walls. He staggered, shielding himself, but the field pushed him into a stack of metal crates. The noise echoed through the station. "They are better than I thought," Aaron said. "They have not faced us together before," Nira replied. The next wave came quickly. 2 hunters tried to rush through the door at once. Aaron fired, striking. The first directly in the chest plate. The second ducked and rolled into cover, narrowly avoiding a trap on the floor. Nira moved silently, pressing a hidden button that sent a pulse of energy through the side walls. The hunter screamed and stumbled, giving Aaron the perfect opening. Another shot, and he fell. Breathing heavily, Aaron surveyed the room. Only one hunter remained near the scanner's edge, trying to flank them from a small maintenance door. Nira motioned to him. "I will handle him. You watch the main entrance." Aaron nodded. He adjusted the traps, ready for any new threats. Nira moved like a shadow, silently approaching the maintenance door. With a quick burst from her energy field, she disabled the hunter's shield. He stumbled backward, and Aaron fired a final shot from the wall opening. The hunter crashed, motionless. The room fell silent. Outside, the storm had faded completely, leaving the icy plains calm. The red blips on the scanner were gone. Aaron lowered. His launcher and Nira sank against a console, breathing heavily. "You fought well," Aaron said. "So did you," she replied. Her eyes met his. For the first time, there was no tension between them, only relief and mutual respect. Aaron looked around at the damaged drones and broken machinery. "We stopped them for now, but they will come again if you stay on this planet." Nira nodded. "I know. That is why I must leave soon. But I will not forget this. You saved my life, and you risked yours for me." Aaron smiled faintly. "Maybe humans do that naturally. We try to help when we can." She studied him, her expression softening. "Why are you so kind, human?" she whispered. Aaron shrugged. "Maybe it is just what we do. Or maybe I believe that helping someone is never wasted, no matter what happens next." Nira's silver eyes glimmered. For the first time, there was no hesitation in her voice. "Then I will remember that. You have shown me something I thought I would never see. That kindness is possible even in the worst of times." Aaron nodded. He knew the fight was over for now, but the future remained uncertain. Yet in this moment, the victory was theirs. 2 strangers from completely different worlds had fought side by side and survived. Trust had been forged and hope had returned. Outside, the icy plains stretched endlessly, silent and empty. But inside the station, warmth and life remained. Aaron and Nira had faced the hunters, survived their attacks, and stood together stronger than before. and though the warlords and their machines would not forget, neither would they. The morning sun glinted off the icy plains, reflecting in long streaks across the snow. Inside the mining station, the warmth of the heater contrasted sharply with the frozen world outside. Aaron and Nira stood near the ship, checking the engines and supplies. The station had survived the fight, and for the first time in days there was a sense of calm. Nira watched the horizon. Her silver eyes reflected the pale light, and for the first time, she seemed at peace. The threat of the hunters had passed, at least for now, and the storm that had hidden them was gone. "Are you ready to leave this place?" Aaron asked. She nodded. "I am, but I do not know where to go next. My people. My world is far. Too far for me to return safely." Aaron studied her. "Then you go where it is safe. You deserve that, and you deserve time to live, not just run." Nira's gaze softened. "You have given me hope. That is something I thought I would never feel again." Aaron smiled faintly. "Maybe humans do that naturally. Maybe we try to help when we can." She looked at him, and this time she smiled, openly. "Why are you so kind, human?" He shrugged lightly. "I do not know. Maybe it is instinct. Maybe it is because I believe helping someone is never wasted." The sound of the wind outside filled the silence between them. Aaron moved to the ship and started the engines. The hum of life returned, and the transport shook gently under its own power. "You will need to trust me to fly this part of the journey," he said. "I can take you to a place where you will be safe, at least for a time." Nira stepped inside, her steps careful but confident. "I trust you," she said simply. The ship lifted off the ice, gliding smoothly over the plains. Aaron guided them over the mountains, and Nira looked down at the world below. The frozen cities, the wrecked ships, and the empty plains stretched endlessly. For so long, her life had been full of danger and fear. Now, for the first time, there was a chance to live freely. "I have been running for so long," she said, quietly. "I forgot what it felt like to breathe without worry." "You do not have to run anymore," Aaron said. "Not while I can help. And not while you trust yourself to survive." Nira looked at him. "You risked everything for me, even when you did not know who I was or what I would bring into your life. Sometimes that is the only way to know someone is worth helping," Aaron replied. The sun rose higher, and the ice below began to glimmer in warm light. Aaron adjusted the ship's course toward a distant cluster of mountains. There, hidden valleys and caves offered a safe place to rest and recover. It would not be perfect, but it was enough for Nira to start rebuilding her life. "Why do you help me?" Nira asked. Aaron smiled faintly. "Because no one deserves to be hunted for trying to do the right thing, and because I believe that even small acts of kindness can change the course of a life." She was silent for a moment, then nodded. "Then I will remember this. I will carry it with me, always." The journey was long, but the ship moved steadily. Aaron and Nira shared stories of the worlds they had seen, the dangers they had faced, and the small moments of beauty they had found in the universe. For Nira, it was strange and new to speak freely, without fear. For Aaron, it was a reminder that the universe was bigger than any single battle, and that compassion could reach across species and distance. By late afternoon, the hidden valley came into view. Snow-covered peaks surrounded it, and the sunlight created soft shadows across the land. A small river of melted ice flowed through the center, providing fresh water. Aaron guided the ship down gently, landing near a natural cavern that offered shelter. "This is safe," Aaron said. "For now, at least. You can rest, recover, and plan your next steps." Nira stepped out, letting the cold air fill her lungs. She turned to Aaron. "I do not know how to thank you. You saved my life, and you gave me hope." You do not need to thank me, Aaron said. Just live your life, Nira. That is enough. For the first time in years, she felt free. The weight of fear and constant running lifted slightly from her shoulders. She looked at the mountains, the valley, and the sky. The universe was still vast and dangerous, but now it felt like a place where she could exist without hiding. I will leave soon, she said, her voice calm. But I will not forget you, Aaron. Your kindness, it will guide me. Aaron smiled. And I will not forget you. You reminded me why it is worth helping, why it is worth standing up, even when the odds are against us. They stood together in the soft glow of the afternoon sun. For a moment, neither spoke, letting the silence hold the weight of all they had survived. Finally, Nira turned toward the cavern. I must prepare. My journey is not over, but for the first time I feel ready to face it, Aaron nodded. Go. And remember, the universe is larger than fear. You can be strong and kind at the same time. She smiled, then walked into the cavern. The entrance framed her against the light of the valley, a figure of hope and determination. Aaron watched until she disappeared from sight, knowing that she would carry the lessons of trust, courage, and kindness into the universe. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the snow. Aaron turned back to his ship, ready to continue his own journey. He had helped someone survive, and in doing so had proved that humanity's strength was not just in technology or skill, but in heart and courage. As the wind whispered through the valley, Aaron felt a quiet satisfaction. The world was harsh and dangerous, but it was also full of life, hope, and unexpected allies. And somewhere out there, Nira would live freely, carrying the memory of what it meant to be helped by a human who believed in kindness. The icy plains stretched endlessly, but for the first time, they felt full of possibility. And in that moment, Aaron knew that no matter how vast the universe, humanity had the power to make a difference.